Welcome back to The Explainer, everyone. I am absolutely thrilled to share this one with you today. We are heading straight into ancient Mesopotamia to set the stage for a seriously dramatic historical clash. We're going to examine the gripping narrative of two monumental figures. On one hand, you have Abraham, a young man of just incredibly deep faith. And on the other, King Nimrod, a ruler with unimaginable, absolute authority. This whole story, it's all about belief, defiance, and honestly, one of the most stunning miraculous interventions ever recorded in historical texts. It's a fascinating narrative to unpack, so let's just get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. What exactly happens when absolute earthly power clashes head-on with absolute faith? This isn't just some hypothetical thought experiment. This is the central question framing our entire narrative today. It's the classic unstoppable force meeting an immovable object. We're going to see exactly how this incredible tension resolves when the raw earthly might of a tyrant is pitted directly against the unwavering spiritual conviction of one single individual.
Part 1. King Nimrod's Absolute Rule.
To really understand the stakes here, we have to look at the environment of ancient Mesopotamia under this specific king. The sheer contrast between these two figures is just striking. So on one side, we've got King Nimrod. The texts tell us he ruled with absolute earthly power. But, just ruling wasn't enough for him. His ego is so massive that he demanded his subjects literally worship him, along with all these man-made stone idols filling his kingdom. Now, flip to the exact opposite end of the spectrum, and we find Abraham. The sources say Abraham was blessed with divine wisdom. He took one look at these inanimate stone idols and saw right through the whole charade. Instead of bowing down to the king or these pieces of rock, he urged his people to worship the one true creator. It's the ultimate setup, right? Absolute, rigid, earthly ego versus profound, unyielding divine wisdom.
Moving on to Section 2, Smashing the False Idols.
Well, as you can imagine, this tension couldn't just simmer in the background forever. It leads directly to the ultimate act of rebellion. Ibrahim doesn't just, speak out against this stuff. He actually takes physical action. He goes and smashes the town's stone idols. Why? To prove a point about how utterly powerless they really are. If they were truly gods, they'd defend themselves, right? But by literally shattering the physical illusion of these idols, he completely shatters the psychological hold they had over the people. And oh boy, this sparked King Nimrod's boundless rage. An earthly tyrant absolutely cannot tolerate being undermined like that. Nimrod was furious and immediately sought to make a severe, terrifying example out of this young man.
Which brings us to Section 3, the massive fiery furnace. Nimrod's retaliation wasn't going to be just some simple, quiet execution. No way. The scale of what he ordered was immense. It was designed to project his absolute power and strike terror into anyone who even thought about following Ibrahim. This wasn't thrown together in an afternoon. We are talking about a massive, terrifying undertaking. Step 1, they spent weeks, literally weeks, just gathering wood. Step 2, they built this towering bonfire that burned so intensely that no one could even approach it without getting completely scorched. The heat was insurmountable. So, Step 3, because nobody could actually walk up to the fire to throw Ibrahim in, they had to construct a massive catapult just to launch one single young man into the flames. The sheer terrifying scale of this really highlights just how threatened Nimrod's felt by Ibrahim's faith. And then, execution day arrives. Massive crowds gather to watch this terrifying spectacle. Ibrahim is bound tight and placed right on that massive catapult. But the source text notes something truly beautiful here. In accordance with tradition, the physical features of holy figures aren't depicted, so instead, a brilliant, pure, radiant light emanates from where his face would be. This visual motif is absolutely key because it represents an inner peace and a deep serenity that completely defies the roaring, chaotic flames waiting for him. His heart, it remained completely unwavering.
Section 4, Trust in the Flames. Now, I want to slow down our pacing a bit here because we're reaching the absolute mid-air climax of this story, the catapult fires. As Ibrahim is launched into the air, hurtling toward this deep crimson pit of a blazing inferno, a breathtaking moment happens. He's intercepted in mid-air by the angel Jibril, or Gabriel, and Jibril asks him a very simple question. "O Ibrahim, do you need any help?" Just imagine that for a second. The rushing wind, the roaring heat of the fire right below, and this sudden, quiet, divine pause.
So the crucial point is Ibrahim's response here. Glowing with that soft, divine light, he calmly replies to the angel, "From you, no, but from Allah, yes.
Sufficient for us is Allah, and He is the best disposer of affairs. Think about that. Even staring certain death right in the face, his trust remains entirely vertical. He declines the angel's help, placing his fate utterly and completely in the hands of the Creator. It is quite literally the absolute pinnacle of unwavering trust.
And because of that pure, unshakable faith, right before Ibrahim even touches the flames, the intervention arrives. According to the text, Allah commands the fire directly, with absolute gravity. O fire, be coolness and safety for Ibrahim. The very nature of this lethal, destructive element is fundamentally altered in an instant by a divine command.
Section 5. A miraculous cool garden.
The extreme tension of that launch suddenly gives way to this awe-inspiring resolution. The sensory transformation described in the text is just incredible. The catapult released him into a literal inferno, a deep crimson pit with blazing embers and scorching heat. But the very moment he landed, the environment instantly became a lush, tranquil garden. The blazing embers turned into fragrant flowers. That scorching heat became a gentle, cool breeze. It's an incredible, vivid description of a deadly environment instantly shifting into a peaceful sanctuary.
The details of the aftermath are incredibly precise, too. Ibrahim just sits peacefully right in the midst of the flames, completely unharmed. The fire was highly selective. His bonds were completely burnt away, freeing him, yet his clothes remained entirely untouched. And there he sat, that brilliant light shining brightly, radiating absolute peace and divine protection. The fire, which was meant to destroy him, only served to liberate him from his earthly ropes.
Meanwhile, what about King Nimrod? Up in his high palace, Nimrod looked down into the pit, fully expecting to see a pile of ashes, right? The ultimate triumph of his earthly power. But instead, the text says he gasped in shock. It is a completely defeated perspective. Through the shimmering heat of the furnace, this tyrant sees the young man sitting comfortably in a beautiful garden, wrapped in divine protection. Absolute earthly power had totally, completely failed against absolute faith. As we wrap up this explainer, there's a question I really want to leave you with today. We've just explored this ancient, dramatic narrative of a literal fiery furnace. But symbolically, when the fires of life roar around you, where do you place your ultimate trust? It's such a powerful narrative about finding a cool garden of peace amidst the scorching heat of adversity, and it's all rooted in where one's faith truly lies. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. If you found this breakdown insightful, keep reflecting on these amazing historical texts, and I will see you next time.